Welcome to Plastered by Simpson. Today is episode 2, and with us we've got Woody Kennedy.
Glad to have Woody with us. Woody, glad you're here. Obviously, Woody's been with us forever, since he was 16. He's an established project manager in our industry. He's obviously an expert in what we do. And he started here when he was a kid, because his dad had worked here as well. So he's been here almost 2 decades. So glad you made it. Always glad to have you on our team. So Woody, let's just start with the easy stuff. What's your intro into Simpson? Tell us, obviously I lived it, but tell us how you got into the industry initially.
Well, I think I came here a bunch when I was a kid, when I was sick. So I was intrigued by all the pieces of equipment and machinery around. And then when you don't do well in math, one year your dad makes you build scaffold all summer, right? And so, it works out that way. Then you just keep going down the same path. So keep learning more and enjoying different things.
And my initial memories of you are probably that big in soccer cleats, rolling through the office from time to time in your dad's Astro van, because it was a very big piece of life, and your dad's Astro van playing soccer.
Yeah, his Astro van is legendary amongst plenty of things.
Did it have the shag carpet in it?
It was not, no.
No, it had a V8, and he did roll it end to end at one point in time.
No, that was the Plymouth Caravan.
Oh, that was
prior to. Then the MPV came next. The Astro van was a little later, but I think he had 6 of those.
He did a lot of Astro vans because they could tow a boat.
That's true.
That was always
That's
the important part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so you had an early entry into it, as really is what makes people, I think, great at construction when you've seen it your whole life. So this isn't like something you learned; it's something you lived.
Experienced, yeah.
Yeah, experience. So tell me about just your dad's. I think the way I like to put it is your dad things he taught you without trying to teach you, and then the things he taught you that he demanded of you.
Okay, so I would tell you, what he taught me, I guess without explaining, is that you always do what you tell somebody you're going to do, and that determination and grit, you're gonna see it through no matter what, and that goes through any aspect of whether it's estimating or project management or job completion, right? And so, and knowing you have to know your stuff to be able to do that. So,
and your dad obviously taught me, most of the things I know because I spent so much time with him when I first came in. But a couple of things I learned from your dad was how to prepare for battle in a trailer, right? Because he was one of the best trailer warriors I've come across. And then he also taught me just the work ethic involved. I mean, I've said this before, even when we would go to lunch, we never went to lunch. We'd go to lunch, we'd go to Brassfield's office and walk the halls back when they had the atrium. And then, vacations were not something he took very often anyway. I mean, he just he was always grounded. I mean, he knew the numbers. He could tell you at any given moment, I only took 2 vacation days this year. I did this, that, that. He was a workhorse, in early, stayed late. He was impressive.
yes, no, he was. Probably better than I am.
What did he teach you that he demanded from you? Lots of demands.
I mean,
Demands,
I was like, that list is probably longer than we can talk about. But I mean, one of them was definitely, I think we was doing your homework. You were talking about the trailer and telling people how you were going to do something, what you were going to do, scheduling, things like that, and actually knowing your product, your information, your execution. It's just as important to know what you can't do more than what you can do, right? So you can notify everybody and let everybody know. But we've joked before that those trailers were like a WWE cage match, and they had different personalities across that table, right? And but the difference in that and today is that most of them everything was handled in that box. Everything was decided in the box. Everybody walked out with a clear plan and an execution to be able to do that. And again, to do that, you had to know your information, right? So he was big on, it being right the first time and knowing your information. I remember one time when I had to study for a job meeting, I thought I was going to have to talk. And before I walked in the trailer, he looked at me and he says, "Hey, you don't speak unless you're spoken to, but you better know the answer," right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right. So this is just a trial run. You're just seeing if I'd study. Okay.
Yes, understand that.
It worked. Being at Simpson basically your whole career, how have you seen construction change from when you started to now?
I think there's been different evolutions. I mean, one of the biggest evolutions I think was technology, and when digital plans went out, you lost the ability to kind of walk into an office and get plans and talk to somebody and have that relationship build by them handing you a set of plans that you could look at. Technology is a good and bad thing, so it took away from maybe that initial conversation, but it also has enabled us to navigate a changing landscape and design and everything else a lot quicker because they email all the plans out or they delineate them through the internet. So
and I think that's made the bid structure a lot more cutthroat. Going from someone handing you plans to now anyone can get online and bid the same project.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because they get to invite whoever they want to, and they know they have the access to do that, right?
Or they can just make it public and someone from Washington.
Well, it used to for us. I mean, and I think probably at the beginning of your career, you had Dodge rooms.
Yeah.
You would have to go to a room to find the plans and go take them off by paper in that room and then bring it back to the office. That was a public plan. Otherwise, if you knew someone well enough, they'd bring you a set of plans. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the oldest school before the computer.
Yeah.
But now, computers now, all information's everywhere.
Right. And then also the different landscape and trained individuals, right, where we had talked about before, there was different groups of people. We had lathers and we had stucco guys, and now everybody thinks they're the jack of all trades without maybe being expert in any of them, right? And so that requires us to be more hands-on on a daily basis of ensuring something that maybe wouldn't have been an issue with the older school guys and the pride that they took in what it is now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say, when we came through, Woody and I started, we had so many old school guys here. You learned all your details from those guys on the wall, especially as a new project manager. Just talking to your superintendent, you learned so much from them because they knew 20 ways to do every single thing. And then to me, today, you've got to learn from a textbook. We still have some of the old school guys, but most of the new school guys are not, 20 different ways. They might know the way they learned one time,
right,
somewhere, but it's not that knowledge base is not what it was.
Yeah. Or they learn from a video tutorial.
Yeah.
Online.
And things that evolve so much more quickly now, like with manufacturers changing names of products, on a yearly basis, and it's not necessarily like they have some kind of news blurb that goes out and says, "Hey, we switched the system from this to that."
Yeah.
Right.
What's your story about that one manufacturer that switched up the literature and you found out about it through something else?
Yeah, a manufacturer changed the standard thickness of their systems, and we were using one, and then they pull out the manufacturer spec, and it had changed, and we didn't know it. And we kept on using the system, and then we saw that, and then we're like, oh my gosh, this has changed completely. And we had no idea until we saw it come out in literature. No one called today, we changed this, that, or the other. But that's, George Simpson used to keep all the binders for every year in his bookshelf. So if you ever got in trouble, you go back to the year of the binder to see what they'd said that year.
So you could use it.
And now it's all electronics. I don't know if you could,
You'd have to download it.
Old stuff,
yeah. But yeah, no, I think, and then like I said, the labor part has been a huge thing, because I think that was something that Richard and I both leaned on and we grew up with, right? Because really on a job site, as long as you made the guy you worked for happy, everybody was happy. Yeah. It was not necessarily as much as of a white collar management scenario as much as it was those guys on the wall in the field. You made those guys happy, everybody was happy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I agree. And it was, the other side is you could develop those guys in the field and develop their knowledge. They're always with you. I mean, we had so many different groups that just were always here.
Right.
So we kind of moved forward. We've changed up, obviously, the way we run from those times where we're not really running, one-man shows everywhere. We have kind of teams and regions and all that. So tell me, what are you looking for in your team members? You got to add one guy to your team. What are the 2 or 3 traits that you think have got to be there to be on your team in your region?
I think you have to be driven in whatever you do, and that would bring, you could use that in any facet of your life. You got to be willing to jump in feet first and learn on the fly, but have some pragmatic information and be like, hey, I don't know this, I need to call somebody, right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is to be joyful and happy and be willing to take on a challenge every day, because there's one thing about the construction business, it's not the same way every single day, right? And every single problem is a different problem, and it's the biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
There's never one without a problem.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So we go back to what we were talking about with trailers and people on your team. Tell me back, what is the worst job site trailer meeting you ever went to?
I mean, they all rank up there, but I have different experiences. I think the worst one, because it was it was collectively, everybody was behind the 8 ball, and it wasn't a trailer, it was the basement of the LSU stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And it had about 8-foot tall ceilings, and everybody was smoking, and it looked like London fog and after a 2-hour meeting, right? And it was just because there was no good answers, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I was used to being able to give good, solid answers, and there were so many variables that put in place that, I mean, we weren't guessing, but it sure seemed like it, mm-hmm. because every week was a different thing, right? And so I would say that's the worst, just because I couldn't give and execute what I thought we could do, right? As opposed to other trailers were much more combative, but because I knew we had our stuff in order, I felt better about it, right?
Yeah.
So
well, and you and I've talked before. That job was kind of your coming of age.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden you went from being a project manager to a legit kind of senior level project manager from what you learned on that job.
Yeah, we pay a lot for that education. So.
Yes. You always do. I say that all the time. We're always paying for an education.
Yeah, that was one.
Back to construction changes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think AI has played the biggest part in your day-to-day?
I don't know if it really has on a day-to-day basis. I would say, I would assume that what we'll see is that what other scopes of work that we interact with will use it maybe more consistently than we will. I mean, we've all kind of been through this. Ours is a unique thing. I'm not saying AI can't help us in what we do. It's just can't do what we do. Yeah. I think if it can draw drawings and things like that, I think that becomes a really big deal, because then who's accountable, who answers the questions of what the thought process was, right? And so I think that to me it's the repercussions of maybe how, when other people are changing to that more, using it more than what we would use it for, would be a problem.
Yeah. Thankfully, putting mud on the wall physically.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It eliminates AI.
I don't know. They're making those robots now. Did you see that at the AWCI trade show?
Oh yeah.
They're making this robot that can now do interior plaster.
Yeah. So the first one we ever saw was Israeli built, right? And it had a 3D scanner on it, and the same company had talked about building one on top of a JLG lift, right? Now, I don't know how it does wall scanning on the outside. I'm not that smart to understand that, but I can understand in the inside how you could put the parameters of a wall in that computer, and it can go scan that thing. And what we saw was quite impressive.
Well, they do have that one stucco machine that goes up, presses on the wall and runs up and can do a little swipe. I don't think it's that wide, like 6 or 8 feet at a time.
Right, but I think you have to set the depth of the wall.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, it's not as
automated. Like a manual press machine.
Right. It's not as automated as that robot was.
Yeah. Maybe it's not AI, but there's so much technology coming out now just for like specific trades.
Yeah,
like the drone that's spraying mud.
Yeah.
Like you got a drone spraying stucco mud now, and that's crazy.
A drone spraying paint.
Yeah.
Washing. It's all kinds of stuff. It's incredible what they're able to do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the projects you've done, especially here recently, because you've got a load of projects that have awards behind them, right? So obviously the most recent and biggest is Bryce, right? Bryce Schools won 3 awards now.
3 awards?
Mm-hmm.
And what was it when it started? Because it wasn't, now it is it's
it's an arts college for Alabama. So it was I guess a mental asylum for a long time, is why it was built. It was a unique opportunity because, what's crazy about it is it had, 100-year-old stucco on it on most of the exterior walls, and we made it look virtually the same as it did previously. And I was lucky enough to have my name at the top of it and estimate it, but it took a whole mountain of people to execute that, and we were fortunate to have a good team to do that.
Yeah. Any crazy stories from the construction process?
I'll be honest. We looked at that thing for 5 years? Yeah, and I'm not saying things didn't come up, but it wasn't as. I feel like crazy construction stories amount from maybe, you not having as much time in front of the building. I think Dad had a part in it. Richard had a part in it. I think all of us had identified issues that were going to transpire that transpired.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, the right-hand side of the building, it was all masonry, and that part of the building had collapsed due to the fact of the structure being bad. So 2/3 of it, the center part and the left part, is still old brick that was actually made and dried in the 400 acres, but the right-hand side is new construction.
That's awesome. I didn't know if it was being an insane asylum, if you dug any bones out from the basement or something like that.
I'd gone to the basement in college. I did not do that again. And so it was weird seeing it in light when they opened up some walls. And you could see all those places in light. It was weird.
And they did dig a tunnel under, right? They dig a tunnel out from one of the sides.
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
And so now back on the other side of that is the PAC building that you're currently doing.
Right. Yeah. It's the Performing Arts Center, I guess, for the Arts College. So
is it gonna look the same?
It's white and has a lot of molding on it. I think that the building itself is probably a little more ornate in the entrance, where that is probably more, I don't know, colonial maybe. I'm not quite sure.
The architect. Yeah. Great. And it's such a huge presence on the campus now.
It is.
Another one you got a pretty big award with. You had Falls Church, Virginia, the church there.
Oh yes, sir. Yeah.
What was the name of that?
Christ
the King.
Christ the King, yeah.
Yeah, Christ the King Church.
Yeah, that won a couple of awards, I think. That was a Catholic church that we made look like it was precast with eaves.
Yeah.
So
cast stone. That was a long job. Had a lot of detail in it, as we well know. What's the other one we have awards on? Market 42, I believe, won an award.
Okay.
That was another. There's another big. All right, Woody. So you got a lot of other projects that have won awards. Richardson Center at Wofford.
Yeah.
Is probably I think it's one of the best looking buildings on campus for those guys and that area. Tell us about that job, because that had some interior elements as well, didn't it?
Yeah. I think we started all exterior, and then we did some interior work. But we did a imitation cast stone that was really cool that I'd never dealt with before, and it was a unique opportunity because the structure couldn't hold real precast, and so they used this imitation precast in conjunction with stucco and eaves to give it a Colosseum look, I think, is what Jerry Richardson wanted at the time.
And that's a good-looking building. And then you've got, what would you say, a couple others that you won awards on. Omni Hotel, which we really mainly did the fireproofing.
We did a big soffit there. That was
soffit fireproofing, I think. And then you had
the Joseph
Hotel.
Yeah, in Nashville as well.
And we said the Christ the King Church.
Yeah, Christ the King Church. Yeah. So you got a number of jobs that have won awards, and probably could do it annually.
Yeah.
As many big ones as you're doing. I assume that, of course, you're now in the President's Mansion, which will probably be in line for an award. It's a gorgeous house and a gorgeous place to be. So.
Yeah. I think those jobs, particularly Christ the King, the Bryce, and the PAC building, the Performing Arts building, those are all maybe once in a lifetime jobs to get to do. I don't think they build those kind of things every day. So.
No, they don't. That's true. And Alabama's been on a string of them here lately. So,
yeah.
And Auburn has a new huge building coming out.
Yeah.
So you might have a shot at getting down there and doing a little Auburn work versus Alabama work.
Out of all these awarded projects, which one do you think you're the most proud of, or it might not even be in those projects?
I'm all equally proud of those things because we gave each place something that they wanted, and they were happy with our finished product, and they were happy with the process, and I believe that that ultimately is the goal, is to make your client, both GC and owner, happy with the choices they made,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And we, something I think we do really good at is explaining a finished expectation and then meeting that finished expectation, whatever it is, right?
Good point. That's a good point. All right, so moving forward from here forward, tell me, what do you think the biggest hurdles are going to be over the next 2 or 3 years?
I think manpower, as well as I'm not savvy in this world, but the way they invest in projects, I feel like is different than it used to be, because if you got to a 75% set of drawings, 15 years ago, that building was going to get built, right? In a relatively normal amount of time, right? Where now I feel like we'll work on a job and we may bid it 4 times or 5 times. We'll get to 100% drawings and they'll be like, hey, we're just going to table it for now, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so I think that evolution is trying to understand, because for me, and I think for everybody, you're given everything you got to know that you're going to get that job or want that job, right? And then to know that you worked all that way for it to be tabled, and then you got to start over again to try to find work to do is a big hurdle to climb, as well as I think AI is going to play something in that, like you said, with different scopes. I think each individual facet of construction can either be really invested in it or not, depending on what you do, right? But I definitely, we need to have more investment in knowledgeable people in the field, I think, to overcome a lot of those things, because I think all the advances in this is a lot to do with we don't have the same intelligence in the field all the time anymore, right? And so
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think, it's the one thing, especially in the Southeast, where the union has such little presence now. So there's no one to teach it as it goes. And we've talked about this a lot of times before. We were really lucky in that we were taught skills by the couple of families that always ran this place, right? You had the Chambers, who were kind of the wet wall group. You had the Hardens, which were your lathing group. So they had their own town, their own family name that brought that skill, and it just passed down time after time. That's obviously gone.
Right.
Now I think we got one Chambers left of the whole group, which is kind of a freaky situation at some level, because you could always lean on those groups. And really, if you needed more people, they go get their neighbors. Mm-hmm. I mean, or you had Mark Smith and his group of guys come out of Coleman. Needed more people, he'd go find a couple more guys. And these days, you don't have those luxuries anymore.
No.
Most of those guys are gone out of the industry, so you have a different transient crowd really playing in our
sandbox.
Sandbox,
Yeah.
so it's harder to plan.
Right. Yeah. No. Definitely. I think and also like we spoke of before, having lathers and stucco guys and fireproofers that are excellent in their skill. Those guys, they were prideful of it, right? Mm-hmm. Where instilling that pride again in what we do on a daily basis is sometimes hard all the way down the chain.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but we need to keep working at that to keep instilling that pride and process.
So tell me about your superintendents. Tell me the change in the general contractor superintendents in your time.
Well, I mean, I think everybody that has some age like myself would remember the superintendents that only yelled, right? Whether they were commending you of what you did or getting mad at you for what you did. I think there's an element of superintendent now that, they have a lot to take on just like we do, and it makes it hard for them to be constantly present all the time everywhere to see all the different things that are going on. And so you get more of them with more technology and more iPads that sometimes cause more problems than help sometimes.
Yeah, I would say that the superintendents we grew up on were out of the field. They were either a carpenter or a concrete guy, and they were in that trailer, so they knew everything, every terminology, had a general idea about everything happening.
Much more means and methods.
Yeah, and so since they're coming out of the field into the trailer, I feel like they had a little more grasp of the exacts what we're doing. the new superintendents are really good with emails, and they have a technology base and probably a better knowledge base of everything going on. But sometimes they're missing that means and methods portion of how do we really go get this done on that building. You know?
Yeah.
And the old superintendent, you couldn't keep out of the field.
Right.
You know, the new one, sometimes it's hard to get them in the field, which both have their good and bad. I mean, I had a number of superintendents go and move our crews, you know, across the job and redo this, that, the other. You'd be like, well, what happened? I was only gone for 2 days. And so it's something that's a little different. But to me, that's one of the biggest differences is the background and kind of where their skill comes into that trade.
Right. And I think you had a lot of project managers, old school wise, that were general superintendents that became that, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the means and methods kind of, everything was very heavily done in how do we do this, how do we do it right, and how do we do it one time, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to sometimes, you get given a contract and they don't really know what we're doing, right?
I know the contract pretty well, though.
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
That's a little
Control
different.
F is a strong tool these days.
Yeah. Know what's going on. I'm not sure. Control F.
Kind.
Oh, I'm just trying to control my Fs, I thought.
No. They can search through your contract in 5 seconds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, so that's a completely different world. Who's the best yeller in the trailer you've ever had to deal with?
I think that two of them was probably Larry Helms and James Coran. I think those two were very good at that.
Agreed.
Right?
Now, I had Mac Trawick early in my career, who was a tough one.
Yeah, that was before my time.
Yeah,
I did not. If I met him, I met him in soccer cleats. I didn't meet him.
Yeah, he was legendary.
Yeah.
Even for that time.
Yeah.
And that was a rough time. But it's funny you come across those guys, but they knew their stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I loved. You know, I was in quite a few of those meetings with James Coran. He definitely knew his stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Always appreciated him.
Those were ass chewings that I earned. Right? I mean, those kind of guys, you knew you earned them, and it's just good to take it.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you just go in and say, all right, this is on us.
Right, yeah.
So one thing I loved about Mark Smith as general superintendent for us, there were days where you would tell Mark, hey, Mark, you're not going to like this, but you got to go down that trailer, and they're going to be mad, and they should be mad. There's nothing you just got to take it. And he'd be like, okay. And it didn't bother him. He'd go down there. He would take the chewing. He would know what he had to do to fix it, and he'd just move on. It was not the big emotional event a lot of times we see now with younger superintendents where, you know, they try to figure out how to get out of it or get around it. It's just straight up like, he's like, okay, I'm good with it. That's what I got to do, and that's what we'll do.
I still think that is something that I learned from Mark and everybody is that, you know, when it's time for you to take it, you just stand up and take it. It's a lot easier to take it than it is to dodge it. Right. Yeah. I mean, and you ultimately, you know, get some respect from that, and those guys become eventually a working partner with you that they believe in you, and they're going to want you to succeed because you're willing to own up to the mistakes you made and do this.
Yeah, it's a good point of that.
All right, well, we like to end all of our episodes with 3 questions.
Okay.
First question being, what was the last book that you read?
21 Laws of Leadership. I think we are reading it currently.
Okay. And your thoughts on it?
I think those are life lessons in which need to be taught that maybe they were taught to older people at a younger portion in life, but these days I don't think those are always taught as core principles anymore. Yeah. And so I think those ring true more for how an individual needs to carry himself in anything in life, much less, you know, something work related.
I think that's well said. To me, that every time I read one of those laws of leadership, you kind of go, oh, of course. Mm-hmm. But you know, while it's an of course reaction at the same time, you've got to develop and learn it all. So it's, you know, one of those. All right.
Second one, if you had to give a TED talk on anything in life today, what would it be
on? I don't know. I got really good at souping up Power Wheels. I mean,
those are impressive too.
That'd probably be my most interesting TED talk. I'm sure I could talk about many things, right? More of like what not to do in life, right? I think there could be different things in that, but I don't know. That's a good question, and maybe a bucket list question.
What are you putting in your Power Wheels? A 60-volt or a 20-volt DeWalt?
Well, it's not Power Wheels. What is it? It's the Tonka trucks.
But it's a brand name.
What's the race cars that go down the little track?
No.
Those are soapbox. Well, Pinewood Derby cars.
He does Power Wheels with his kids, like the ones you ride in.
Yeah.
What do you jack them up with? I can't.
We've done 20-volt and 60-volt batteries, yeah. But both of them, and none of those pieces of equipment are designed for that kind of power. But it's fun while it lasts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I go as third.
Our third and final question every time is, if you had to promote a GC, what's your favorite GC that you've worked with?
Oh, the last one that gave us a good contract.
All right. That's always a good answer.
Yeah.
Well,
Very well.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks
We
for the
enjoyed
opportunity,
it.
man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll see you again.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Hey, guys, thanks for watching episode 2 today. Please like, subscribe, comment. Anything you do helps us keep this thing rolling. Thanks.